I understand why eroge is often not talked about, especially on YouTube since you've got to be careful with the editing to not show anything. But I also feel that eroge is an important part of the medium's history and should be acknowledged more than it currently is. A lot of major players in video games today made eroge such as Square, Koei, and Nihon Falcom. And even if those companies have moved away from eroge, the genre still remains very alive today. Just go fucking look at Steam's new and trending list and I can guarantee you that at least one erotic game is on that list. But arguably, the king of eroge would have to be the titular Rance. I first became interested in the series after playing through the game Sengoku Gensokyo, a Toho fan game that borrows some of the gameplay from Sengoku Rance, which happened to be the first Rance game that I had played. You can tell that I ended up really liking that game, considering today I'll be talking about the start of the Rance series, that being Rance 01 The Quest for Hikari. I say start, but Rance 01 is actually a remake of the first Rance game. Whatever, it's fine, it counts. The Rance series is a major series in the eroge space, as it is considered the longest running eroge series. Kichikuo Rance is still one of the best selling erotic games, and Rance 10 for a while had the longest script in video game history for several years, up until the release of the 100-line Last Defense Academy. Though as of writing this, the English script of Rance 10 is still in the editing phase, but estimates put it at roughly a 4 million word count, while the 100-line is at roughly 6 million. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. I feel the best way to understand how Alice Soft's Rance series got to where it is by starting at the beginning. Thank you to my supporters. If you liked the video, consider subscribing or even joining the Patreon. Link on screen and in the description. Because of the nature of talking about eroge, if you want to find an uncensored version of this video, you can only find it on Patreon. Rance 01 starts with Rance accepting a quest to find a missing girl named Hikari. In other games, the protagonist is a hero going on adventures for the sake of doing good in the world. Not this motherfucker. Rance takes a look at Hikari's picture, thinks she's cute, and is planning to fuck her as part of his reward. Rance is a piece of shit. He's arrogant, he's a cruel bastard, straight up rapist, and thinks with nothing but his dick. Rance was conceived as a parody of RPG protagonists. The idea being that the hero in something like Dragon Quest would never be a hero for wholesome reasons, and anyone actually that strong would do fucked up shit. Rance owns a slave, that being Sill Plain. He actively abuses her physically, emotionally, and especially sexually. He will fuck with her every chance he gets, including publicly humiliating her by fucking her on playground equipment, or just straight cruelty by Goomba stomping a dog she was playing with. One of the first parts of this quest has you go out to save a girl named Pulp Tanks from a group of bandits. Not because she was kidnapped, but to get his dick wet. So he kills the captor, the thief Reinhardt, and proceeds to rape Pulp Tanks pretending to be Reinhardt so that she continues to think of Rance as the hero who saved her. Rance later uses this goodwill to fuck her again, of course. Rance is not a good person. Despite this, the tone of the Rance series is very comedic. Here's an example. There's a character you can find while exploring a dungeon called Me Lordling. He's a priest that can heal you, an eccentric priest to say the least. He carries around a puppet of his god made of cardboard and talks to it as if it actually talks back. Or when you need to go to the second floor in the haunted mansion, a gorilla is throwing barrels at you, so you need to go and get a fucking Mario Bros hammer to be able to deal with the barrels to reach the gorilla. The game does not treat itself or Rance seriously at all, and is goofy as hell throughout. It's because of levity like this, levity that extends to more questionable content, that content becomes a lot more palatable. It's easier to follow Rance's journey when even the game acknowledges that he's a dumb bitch. But also, when the game starts to explore really fucked up subject matter, such as Lavender's torture and eventual suicide, it's treated a lot more seriously. Like, there's no jokes there, and even Rance knows to tone it down and treat the situation a lot more seriously. The game knows when to be funny, and when to also tone it down, which helps a lot. Rance 01 is an RPG where you crawl through dungeons, which are represented through a series of cards acting as tiles you explore on. Your weapons and items are chips that you can spend in battle to deal damage or block with, and as you get further, chips start having cooldowns that require you to wait a couple turns before using them again. The actual combat of Rance 01 is simple and fast-paced. You're provided information about the opponent's next turn, and you use that to play chips that can penetrate their defense and put up your own defense to minimize your taken damage. The thing is that the game is hard, especially at the start of the game. For one thing, you can't heal in battle. So if you're about to take lethal damage, get fucked, you're taking lethal damage. Can't heal that shit. But early on, enemies can easily fuck your shit up and can 1 or 2 shot you easily. You've got low health, dick all for equipment, and even then it's not even that great. You're swinging around a pathetic fucking stick. This results in anything doing C rank damage being a scary threat, and anything that is B rank or above might as well be lethal until you start getting decent shields. Even then, you need the inventory space to hold those shields and the funds to purchase them. And you better hope that all your shit isn't on cooldown when the enemy is winding up for an A rank or S rank attack. You gon' fucking die. So damage numbers can be pretty crazy, which means that grinding should help negate some of that, right? I mean, yeah, but I hope you're ready to grind for an hour just to get a single level up. The experience curve in this game is fucked up. At the start of the game, you can easily get enough experience to get 2 or 3 levels in a single trip. But once you hit like level 10, the game starts asking for experience in the thousands to level up, meaning you've either gotta grind like crazy on the weaker enemies, or risk fighting stronger enemies for more experience. But more often than not, I'll try that shit only for my shit to get rocked and have to reload a save, losing whatever progress I made since entering the dungeon. And it's not just the enemies in the dungeon you have to worry about, but also the dungeon itself is a threat. There are several tiles that do not show you what is on it until you step on it. Sometimes this could be treasure, but most of the time you're gonna get jumped by something out of your league that you're not ready for, or will inflict a detrimental status effect. Let me tell you a little story about a trip through the graveyard area I had. I stepped on a space that put stones in Rance's dick. This means that every time I move, it could do negligible damage of like 3, or could do 200 damage if I get unlucky. I then step on a music box that plays the shittiest song to fuck with the player. So now the game is mocking me. I then step onto an unknown tile that turns out to be a ditch that deals more damage than I had health, and I just die. It's not just Rance that is cruel, but the world itself is cruel. Now, as much as losing progress was frustrating, I was also laughing at the comical series of events that led me to that death. The back-to-back was pretty funny, not gonna lie. The game is challenging. Rance I will not hold your hand. Not just in the combat, but also the fact that there is a lot of missable scenes and content in this game. While the main story is pretty straightforward and made obvious what needs to happen in order to progress, any optional content is obtuse as hell. Unless you're religiously following a guide with the aim of shooting for all the CG to shoot your goo to, the sex scenes are not easily gotten. You have to work for it. There's a quest line to steal the panties from the character Miki, a character who originates from Little Princess, another Alicesoft game. This quest line requires you to travel to the same room twice in a single dungeon run, dig up a spot twice to find an elixir, hand that elixir over to a mouse who's the one who wants the panties, try to steal Miki's underwear twice, but before that you need to be high enough level and have over 444 health to survive the attempts, buy a different pair of underwear and try to scam the mouse, which doesn't work, talk to the maid about doing laundry, and only then can you steal her underwear. A weirdly extended process that asks you to do shit that is not at all obvious that they are even available options unless you're the type of person to exhaust all options. And for what? A CG where Rance tries to flip up Miki's skirt and sees her pussy? For context, I was following a guide for this, and it still took me an hour just to do this one side quest, which an hour out of 13 is quite a large proportion of the game length. And that's with knowing what to do. Imagine how long it'd take if I was just raw dogging it without the guide. The side quests largely require this amount of effort to go through them. All that said, I did enjoy my time with Rance I. When you're not getting fucked over, it is a fun RPG to play. Despite its simplicity, the challenge presented in it does make the game very rewarding to overcome it. Whether that be a difficult fight or an involved process to get a CG involving one of the girls in the game. I had to fight an A-rank tricorn and all I got from Willis was a foot job? That's bullshit. But it's very obvious from this entry why Rance got put on the map in the first place. Rance isn't just mindless porn, but is also a legitimate game. The art and music is solid, the writing is great, and the gameplay can be fun. The year after Rance I came out, a 4-episode OVA was made adapting the game's story. Wait, it took a year and a half to put out 4 episodes? What kind of Hellsing Ultimate ass schedule is that? The OVA was produced by Pink Pineapple, who I believe do not have a single safer word production under their belt. And this was animated by Studio 7, who are primarily a hentai studio. To no one's surprise, this OVA is extremely pornographic. Right from the start, they really got the art on point. Everyone looks like they came straight out the game sporting Yokai style pretty accurately. That all looks nice. Except for the part where Rance's face melts a little bit or when Lee is being bent over nothing. But hey, nothing's perfect. Speaking of pretty good but not perfect, I think that the voice actor they got to portray Rance here is a solid one. He's a good pick when it comes to Rance's attitude and making him sound real shitty. Now this is personal, but I envision Rance to sound a touch lower pitched than this. Not much, but a bit. Even feeling that, the attitude especially is spot on. Makes you really want to knock Rance's teeth in a good way. The OVA covers the whole story of Rance 01 and hits pretty much every story beat. And even though it was not required to beat Yulan Mirage in 01, the OVA decides to cover her fight as well. Even though it covers it all, the OVA blitzes the fuck out of the story and rushes the hell out of any of the narrative scenes. Hell, some sections are even truncated like the Haunted Mansion. That shit is cut down short, likely to get more Yulan in the OVA, but especially to get more Yulan fucking in. The biggest reason why the OVA is at a breakneck pace is because it makes sure to slow down and soak in the sex scenes. Less soaking, I don't think Rance is Mormon, but a lot of the time of the OVA is dedicated to the sex scenes. They last so fucking long. To give you an idea of how much sex is the emphasis here, the total runtime across the 4 episodes is 1 hour and 56 minutes, including the opening and ending credits. Of those near 2 hours, the sex scenes and nudity take up roughly 45 minutes. Roughly 3/8. That's a lot. Sill getting fucked on the park equipment is like 5 straight minutes. Same goes for Manad. Yulan is nearly 6 minutes, and Maris is over 6 minutes. It's crazy. As you can guess, most of the budget was likely put towards the erotic scenes, which resulted in the action scenes being fucking ass. Like straight terrible. In the Reinhardt fight especially, everything feels so slow and lacks any visual weight whatsoever. There's no impact at all. Issues aside, the OVA is honestly not that bad of an adaptation of the game. Maybe you don't fuck with actually playing through Rance 01, but still want to know what happens so you can get to later entries of the series that you do fuck with playing. The OVA acts as a sort of Rance 01 digest in that it is ultimately a decent way to get just the story if that's all you care about and want out of this. A good way to digest Rance 01, much like how Rance 1 Digest is a good way to get just the story of Rance 1. What, did you think I was just going to talk about Rance 01 without also talking about the game that it is a remake of? Hell no! That'd be fucking stupid. Starting off with Rance 1 Digest, this is a short little program made by Alisoft for the release of Rance 6. This was made for people who wanted to know what the origin of the series looked like and what happened in it, but did not want to play an, even at that time, old game. Either because there's compatibility issues or because maybe you're just too bitch-made to play through it. As the name suggests, at 15 to 20 minutes to read through, it's a nice little way to consume and digest the first Rance game. A nice little snack of an experience if you just don't want to bother with Rance 1. But for those who aren't cowards, the original Rance game dropped in 1989. This is a proper ancient RPG. Babylonian era type shit. Carbon date this bitch back to the Shang Dynasty. We're talking contemporaries with the works of Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, Ys, and Megami Tensei to put it in some perspective. There's multiple versions of Rance 1, there's the PC-88 version and the version that came out on other computers. I haven't played the PC-88 version myself, but according to the Rance Mirrorhees wiki, it's got unique art, stats, and content to it. I didn't play that because I didn't bother trying to set up a PC-88 emulator when I could instead play the Windows freeware version as translated by HGTP in 2010. That's right, freeware. Alisoft being based as fuck, putting out a ton of their old games for free. Not just Rance either, there's a ton of stuff there. So hey, if you're interested in playing this version, you can do so for free $99. Playing through Rance 1 really puts into perspective how much more expanded Rance 01 is. There's just more of everything, and everything is just longer in general. Apparently in the PC-88 version of Rance 1, you go to the graveyard area, but you don't in other releases. In 01, that shit is restored and is now a dungeon area but is also attached to Manad's questline if you're looking to fuck her. And when you go to the Haunted Mansion, you can just kind of explore it in one go in Rance 1 with no progression blocking, nor is there any boss fights or the like. In 01, you've got to travel back and forth between the mansion and Leah in order to even really get started with your exploration. And even when you get to the second floor, now there's a new boss fight with a big-ass gorilla. And the sex scenes. Holy shit, it was surprising to see the longest sex scene in Rance 1 be like 3 fucking text boxes. I couldn't be happier. Every time Rance is looking to get his dick wet, you might as well get comfy because you're gonna be there for a couple of minutes. Rance built up some stamina over 24 years. The biggest difference between Rance 1 and 01 would have to be its gameplay and how it inverted genres and focus. Rance 01 is an RPG with adventure game elements in there. You use ADV type menus to move around and talk to characters, but the game is a fucking RPG first and foremost. Most of the time you're spending in this game is RPG type gameplay. Rance 1, in contrast, is an adventure game with RPG elements. Nearly every action you do comes from the command list in the top right. Wanna move? Not only are you not able to just click on the area you want to go to, you have to actually navigate there on the map using the cardinal directions. Want to get from the town entrance and go to Willis to level up? East, north, east, south, southwest, enter. 7 commands to just walk down the street. The majority of your playtime will be adventure gaming, navigating in this fashion and using the look command to discover items and then actually needing to use the take command rather than Rance just automatically picking it up. And the RPG aspects of this game are a fucking joke and might as well be non-existent. The moment you first get your wallet from Sill, you're able to get kitted out with the second best equipment in this game. The second best. With your starter money. What the fuck? There's a tier better that you have to find throughout the game, but that's not necessary. You can absolutely crush this game with no problem. Early game especially, fucking nothing can touch you at this point. You can leave town and grind experience all you want and not have to pay attention because you rarely get damaged. And the second you gain your first 1 or 2 level ups, nothing in the starting zone can damage you. So not only is getting experience piss easy, it's also fast as hell to get. You can just mash the fuck out of the first command space, which will get you into a fight then attack. And because it's all text boxes and no animations, all you're doing is mashing through text. You can get enough experience to hit level 20, which you can easily beat the game at this level in like 5 minutes. That's nothing. It's insane how fucked the experience rate is in this game for the opposite reasons of its remake. If you do intend on playing this game for yourself, just follow a guide. The one on the Mirror He's wiki is great and will let you finish this game in 2 hours no problem. This game's difficulty doesn't come from combat at all. It comes from it being an adventure game with adventure game type difficulty. And by that I mean being esoteric as fuck. Not obvious on what you need to do next, and being lost as hell running through all your options till you brute force progress. Do you think you'd be able to figure out the correct order to molest Sill in order to get your magic spells? I probably wouldn't, and just use the chart on the wiki. Do you think you'd figure out that you need to attempt to take the hammer twice in order to break down a wall in order to get into a room? I'll be real, I don't think I would, and I don't personally find this type of difficulty fun. Just do what I did if you plan on going through this. Save yourself the time and just use a guide. I think Rance is very interesting. What's interesting is that this first Rance game is very small scale in its story. All you're doing is trying to find a girl. No world-ending threats, Rance isn't in any danger that he doesn't voluntarily put himself into, and it all takes place in a single town. I've heard that it isn't until like the 3rd game for it to start exploring more of the world and all that shit. If you're interested in checking out one of the 2 games, Rance 01 is definitely the better experience than Rance 1. Play that one instead. But as for whether or not I'd recommend Rance 01 is hard to say. I do think that there's value here in the historical context at the start of Rance, but also it serves as the introduction of some characters that do come back later and are relevant later. But also I think that Rance 01 has some qualities to it that make me reluctant to give it the complete recommendation. Notably its gameplay and how grinding and frustrating it can be at times. I'd be interested to see what a second attempt at this style of game would be like, which is what Rance 03 looks to do. So I'm excited to check that out at some point. This might be a situation where for purists, and by that crazy people like me, there's no harm in playing through it, especially if you're interested in the Rance series. But if you're someone who is just interested in a select few games, say you're interested in Sengoku Rance primarily and not that interested in Rance 01, then I'd recommend just hitting up the OVA at that point, and skipping the sex scenes. Knowing that the Rance games evolve and change up each entry, I'm excited to go through the games. Knowing that I'll be delving deeper into the series in the future makes me not regret my time with Rance 01.